Welcome to Soul Stories, where every story shines a light on kindness, compassion, and the beautiful power of the human spirit. Join us as we explore tales that inspire hope, touch the heart, and remind us all to be a little kinder every day. Skyscraper, staring out over the city that worshipped him. At 35, he was the CEO of Carter Tech, one of the fastest-growing tech empires in America. Tall, sharp-jawed, and cold-eyed, he was as known for his ruthless business moves as he was for breaking hearts. But today he was stuck. The board of directors had one condition for approving the merger with a European conglomerate. The new CEO needed to present himself as stable and family-oriented. Investors needed to believe in him not just as a businessman, but as a man with a life beyond the boardroom. Someone trustworthy, relatable, grounded. In other words, he needed a fiancée. And fast. Ryan didn't believe in love. Relationships were messy, unpredictable, and distracting. But he understood image, and he knew the power of perception. He sighed and walked into the lobby cafe in his building to grab a quick espresso, mind spinning with options. Maybe he could hire a model or an actress, someone who knew how to play a part. That's when it happened. A blur of motion, hot liquid, and the unmistakable splash of cappuccino all over his $3,000 Italian suit. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," cried a panicked voice. Ryan looked down, then up, into the bright, shocked eyes of a young woman holding an empty cup and a very apologetic expression. She had long brown hair tied in a loose bun, flour-dusted jeans, and the kind of natural beauty that didn't need makeup to stand out. "It's fine," he said, surprising even himself with his calm. "No burns, just wet pride." She blinked. "You're not gonna scream? I just ruined your fancy outfit." "Most people would," he replied. "But you look like you feel worse than I do." She smiled sheepishly. "That's weirdly kind. I'm Emily, by the way. I usually don't attack customers with coffee." "Ryan," he said, shaking her hand. "And you've made a very memorable first impression." Something about her caught his attention. Not just her looks, but her energy. She didn't shrink away from him like people usually did. She had spark, fire, and something real. Later that evening, Ryan sat in his penthouse replaying the incident. Her voice, her eyes, her genuine guilt, mixed with sarcasm and strength. And suddenly, an idea struck him. Insane, unconventional, but perfect. He tracked her down. Easier than one would think when you're the CEO of half the tech companies in the city, and asked her to meet him for coffee. This time, without any spillage. They met at a quiet cafe downtown the next day. Emily looked nervous, unsure why a billionaire wanted to talk to her again. She even joked, "Are you here to sue me for emotional damage?" Ryan chuckled. "No, I want to make you an offer." She leaned in cautiously. "Go on." "I need a fiancée. For 2 months, just pretend. Attend some corporate events, smile for a few pictures, play the part. I'll pay you $250,000. Emily's eyes widened. "You're joking." "I'm completely serious. You'll have your own apartment, wardrobe, even a driver. But it's strictly business. You help me secure a major deal, and I help you change your life." Emily hesitated. This sounded crazy. Fake a relationship for money? But the bills were real. Her mom's hospital treatments weren't cheap, and dreams of opening her own bakery seemed further away every day. 2 months, she said slowly. 60 days, nothing more. After a long pause, she shook his hand. "Deal." The transformation began immediately. Emily was given etiquette training, a wardrobe full of designer clothes, and a background story that made her seem like the perfect woman. Kind, ambitious, classy. She learned to walk in heels, talk like a CEO's partner, and charm anyone in the room. But what no one expected, least of all Ryan, was how natural she was at all of it. At the first gala, she didn't just play the part, she owned it. Board members adored her. Investors were impressed by her warmth. Even Ryan's famously skeptical sister Julia said, "For the first time, I actually like someone you brought around." She laughed at Ryan's dry jokes, whispered funny remarks during meetings, and somehow made his sterile, calculated world feel alive. At first, Ryan thought it was all part of her role, but by the end of the first week, he realized Emily wasn't faking anything. She wasn't pretending to be likable. She just was. Late one night, they returned from a charity gala. Emily kicked off her heels, groaning, "How do people survive in those things?" Ryan smirked. "You looked flawless." She rolled her eyes. "Yeah, until I almost tripped on that red carpet." "You recovered well," he said. "Most people would have panicked." "I'm not most people," she replied, flopping onto the couch. There was a pause, a silence that wasn't uncomfortable, just charged. And that's when it hit him. She wasn't just solving a business problem anymore. She was becoming his problem. His fake fiancée was making him feel things he hadn't felt in years, if ever. 2 weeks into the arrangement, Emily Brooks had become the highlight of every boardroom conversation, gala, and headline. Tech titan Ryan Carter and fiancée Emily Brooks, New York's most unexpected power couple, read one magazine cover. But behind closed doors, things were shifting. What had started as a business transaction now felt complicated. Ryan wasn't used to feeling anything beyond logic and control, but Emily was starting to make him smile more, breathe easier, and, worst of all, hope. She wasn't just playing the role, she was changing him. At first, he brushed it off as admiration, gratitude even. But by the time he found himself watching her sleep during a flight to LA, wondering what it would be like to actually wake up next to her every day, he knew he was in trouble. Emily, too, was feeling it. She had learned to navigate the CEO lifestyle, but pretending not to care was the hardest part. Ryan could be cold and guarded, but when he let his walls down, he was kind, thoughtful, and surprisingly vulnerable. She caught him watching her sometimes with that quiet intensity, like she was the only person in the room. Still, she reminded herself, this was fake. A job. A countdown to the end of 60 days. That illusion cracked during the company's annual retreat in Aspen. Snow fell gently on the mountains as the Carter Tech team gathered at a luxury lodge for a weekend of networking and relaxation. Emily and Ryan shared a suite, as expected, but that weekend things shifted. The second night, during a bonfire gathering, one of Ryan's rivals, Lucas Hawthorne, showed up uninvited. Arrogant and smug, Lucas had always wanted what Ryan had, and this time, that included Emily. "So you're the famous Emily," Lucas said with a smirk, handing her a drink. "You know, Ryan never introduced someone like you before. Most of his dates look like fashion robots." Emily laughed awkwardly. "That's flattering, I think." Lucas leaned in closer. "Just saying, if this whole billionaire thing gets boring, I know a few places we could escape to." Before Emily could respond, Ryan appeared, his jaw tight. "She's not interested," he said, voice calm but cold. Lucas raised his hands. "Relax, Carter, it's just a party." Ryan didn't answer. He just placed his arm around Emily's waist and guided her away from the fire. Back in their suite, the silence was thick. "You didn't have to get all possessive," Emily said, arms crossed. "He was flirting with you," Ryan replied. "So what? That's part of the act, isn't it?" Ryan turned to her, eyes burning with something she hadn't seen before. "No, it's not. I didn't like it." Her heart pounded. "Why not?" He stepped closer. "Because you're not just part of the deal anymore." The room felt too quiet, too charged. "You don't mean that," she whispered. "I do," Ryan said. "I tried not to, but I can't fake this anymore, Emily. I don't want to." Her breath caught. Everything in her screamed to run, to protect her heart. But her lips betrayed her. "I don't want to fake it either." The kiss that followed wasn't scripted. It wasn't rehearsed. It was raw, real, and long overdue. That night, the line between pretend and real vanished. For the next week, everything changed. They still played their roles for the public, but behind closed doors, they were just two people falling in love. Late-night talks, slow kisses in the kitchen, stolen glances during meetings. It all felt so natural. But happiness wasn't built without cracks. With the merger date approaching, Emily started feeling the weight of it all. What if, after the deal was done, Ryan changed? What if she had just been a part of his strategy? And then came the worst moment. Emily overheard a conversation between Ryan and his lead strategist. He was thanking them for advising him to find a media-friendly partner to help close the merger. "Worked better than I expected," he said. "The board loves her." The words hit Emily like a slap. Was that all she was? That night, she packed her things and left a note. I was supposed to be your solution, Ryan. I didn't mean to fall for you, but I did. And now I need to walk away before I lose myself. I hope the deal is worth it. Goodbye. The next day, Ryan walked into the boardroom, expecting to celebrate the finalized merger. Instead, he felt emptier than he'd ever felt in his life. He didn't care about the millions or the press. He had lost the only thing that ever made his world feel real. For the first time in years, Ryan Carter skipped a board meeting. He didn't work. He didn't think. He just searched. 3 days later, he found her, back at the same cafe where they met. Apron tied around her waist, hair in a bun, smile faded. "Ryan," she said, stunned. He didn't say a word. He just walked up, pulled out a ring, not one for show, but one he had picked out himself, and got down on one knee. "This time it's real," he said, voice shaking. "Not for a deal, not for my image, just for us." Emily stared, heart racing. "I'm sorry," he continued. "I thought I was using you to fix my life, but somewhere along the way, you became my life. I don't want the fake version. I want messy, real, emotional, terrifying love. With you." Tears filled her eyes. "You're such an idiot," she whispered. "But I love you too." And she said yes. Epilogue. 6 months later, the world watched their real wedding. Not on a yacht or in a ballroom, but in a cozy garden surrounded by friends, laughter, and something money couldn't buy. Love. Emily opened her own bakery, Brook and Butter, and Ryan became its most loyal customer. They were still a power couple, but now built on something stronger than business. Truth, love, and one unforgettable fake engagement. That became the real deal.